Good afternoon, teachers of Lexington Elementary. I know that this is not necessarily the way each of you want to spend your afternoon, but I also know that there is no denying the diverse population of our school body. As our school body grows and changes, we are beginning to see more and more ethnic and racial diversity. As teachers, faculty, and staff, we recognize the importance of accommodating our instruction to benefit each individual student in our classrooms. Because of this, it is so important that we begin to integrate multicultural education and equity pedagogy into our school. I know that seems like a mouthful and can often sound intimidating and like a lot of work. Once understanding multicultural education, you will realize how simple it really can be. First, we must understand the goal of multicultural education, which is to ensure that all students have access to inclusive teaching and learning experiences. We must also understand equity pedagogy. According to Cherry and James Banks, equity pedagogy is described as teaching strategies in classroom environments that help students from diverse racial, ethnic, and cultural groups attain the knowledge, skills, and attitudes needed to function effectively within and help create and perpetuate a just, human, and democratic society. As we integrate equity pedagogy into our classrooms, we will open students' eyes to diversity in America today and the diversity in history that has made us who we are. We will teach students to embrace their race and culture while appreciating all the other cultures that make America a melting pot and make our class members family. When we as teachers make our classrooms and teaching strategies applicable to all the ethnicities, races, genders, and cultures represented, our students will be more receptive to the curriculum being taught. Today we will explore multicultural education. We will discuss the final goals we will set as a school. The first goal of integrating multicultural education around us is to change our school and classroom cultures to accept and thrive from the diversity represented within. Second, we will establish the cogent factors that are critical to establishing a hidden curriculum that fosters equity pedagogy. Finally, we will set goals for each culture and race to be understood by each member of the classroom. By the end of this presentation, we will all know how to use multicultural education and equity pedagogy to increase all of our students' interests in our curriculum, especially in the social studies curriculum. As we seek to make our school multicultural, we will adjust our school and classroom cultures. It is important that all of our students from all backgrounds feel equally accepted. One of the final goals of multicultural education is having students appreciate the diverse races and cultures represented around them. In order for students to appreciate diversity, they must first appreciate what makes them unique. We will begin by examining all the cultures represented in our classroom families. In order to examine the different cultures, we should first identify all the different cultures and ethnicities that are represented. This can be done through a parent or student survey, depending on the age or the grade that you teach. After collecting your results, each teacher should then take the time to study the different cultures represented, so you can adjust your curriculum to accommodate each. You will also want to check into how certain cultures react to different schedules, social interactions, food, holidays, attitudes, the extent at which they value education, their family structures, and others. Before and after research, the teacher should reflect on his or her own attitude toward different ethnic, cultural, racial, and social class groups. This allows the teacher to make accommodations to his or her understanding of diversity, and think about how to positively promote cultural differences in the classroom culture. Teachers, faculty, and staff are the first agents who change the culture of a school. The responsibility next lies within the hands of the students. To promote a school and classroom culture of multiculturalism, we should have our students look into and explore the cultures that are represented. When diversity is partnered with curriculum, students will begin to explore diversity. I encourage each of you to find a way to allow students to explore the diversity that is represented in your classroom, grade level, or in our school as a whole. One way that multiculturalism can be integrated into the classroom is through the students taking a poll of all the other students in your particular grade level. Students should ask each other of their particular backgrounds, ethnicities, and cultures. Once collecting this information, they can make it into bar graphs to present their data. They can also be split into groups to research a different culture. This information can then be presented to the class. Through a project like this, the classroom culture is being strengthened, as students are required to work with peers who exhibit differences. They are asked to share their differences and come together for a common goal. This particular teaching strategy also encourages interdisciplinary instruction by incorporating math, social studies, and social skills. The second goal of creating a multicultural environment with culturally relevant pedagogy is by understanding the hidden curriculum that the school revolves around. Throughout the school day, most of the teaching and learning that occurs happens within small groups and social interactions, thus creating interactions a key component of the hidden curriculum. Sherry and James Banks state, implementing equity pedagogy requires teachers to understand how students perceive social interactions with their teachers, what they learned from them, and the extent to which students perceive their teachers as caring persons. Teachers should constantly ask themselves reflective questions to make sure that they are relating to the diversity of their students, meeting all their students' needs, analyzing gaps that may exist and why, and thinking about how to improve on their performance as educators of diverse students. Another component of hidden curriculum is teaching strategies. Teaching strategies such as constructivism and cooperative learning are not going to solely sufficiently fix the problems that may arise in educating a diverse community. As teachers and faculty, we must keep our teaching strategies refreshing and varied. According to Taylor, faculty must attempt to structure their classes with a variety of approaches: lecture, small and large group discussion, peer projects, media, and other presentations. The teachers and adults in the school must address the social class and diversity represented in the school. According to Banks and Banks, the construction of equity in schools as well as the implementation of culturally sensitive teaching models are necessary to actualize equity pedagogy in classrooms and schools. One last component of the hidden curriculum that so greatly implements equity pedagogy in the classroom is the physical environment. In a multicultural classroom, the physical environment should be one that invites collaboration. This can be accomplished through a classroom setup that invites peer relationships and facilitates communication and collaboration through learning centers in proximity. As students work together in adequate space and through collaboration, students learn about themselves and each other as they acquire academic knowledge. Finally, our last goal of multicultural education for our school is to help students develop a better understanding of their own gender, race, culture, age, and social class before exploring diverse genders, cultures, ethnicities, and among other things. Once students have explored their own backgrounds, they can develop an understanding of other backgrounds as well. I encourage that you push your students to understand different cultures and races by challenging your students' individual perspectives, as well as having students assume perspectives of diverse cultures, genders, ethnicities, etc. Once doing this, the students will then be able to look at history or other subject areas through the eyes of different cultures. Christopher Martell discusses the importance of this when discussing a teacher's desire to incorporate the exchanging of cultural ideas. He stated, "Students begin to feel comfortable talking about race and learn to listen and think about how others experience the world." In my classroom, to explore different races, we will look at history to see how different races were involved in different ways. We will look at time periods known to revolve around race, like slavery, the Holocaust, desegregation, times of migration, etc. Students will take different perspectives on these historical events. We may do some short dramas or readers' theater to have students put themselves in the shoes of someone who is different than them. Through these experiences, students will look at historical events through the eyes of a different culture than their own. We can implement these teaching strategies of perspective taking through reading literature. Two books that will help us look into the role diversity played in history are Rosa by Nikki Giovanni and Pink and Say by Patricia Polacco. Books that incorporate historical time periods can be integrated across the curriculum. These are wonderful books to help students take the perspective of Rosa Parks or the white man on the bus and an African American Yankee soldier or a white Yankee soldier fighting in the American Civil War. We will also examine time periods not centered around diversity. As we study history that does not revolve around diversity, we will look at it through the eyes of those from different races. This will be done through videos and photographs. We can look at photos of the Great Depression and discuss the thoughts, feelings, and opportunities of those from different cultures in a time period that did not necessarily revolve around cultural diversity. We can also look at the diversity of gender in those photos and videos to examine different gender roles. This opens students' eyes to all sorts of diversity that is ever present in the world around them. By examining times centered around racism and diversity and times that are not, students will engage in different perspectives. It is through engaging in different perspectives that students begin to question their own perspective, thus exposing inequality and disintegrating it into the classroom community. When we reflect back on the question, can multicultural education and culturally relevant pedagogy be used to increase student interest in social studies? One can answer with a great affirmation. From research, it has been proven that integrating multiculturalism through social studies is achievable. There have been various ways that teachers can incorporate this in the classroom. This is through resources, activities, teaching strategies, and literature that are available to aid educators to making a classroom multicultural. Ultimately, it is up to the teachers and faculty in the school to create an environment that is accepting to diversity. Our students' interest and achievement in social studies will prove to increase as the teachers and faculty of our school understand our goals for making Lexington Elementary a hub of multicultural education. It is up to us to help our students. It is through setting fairly easy goals of changing our school and classroom cultures, establishing the factors of a hidden curriculum that fosters equity pedagogy, and understanding the diverse races and ethnicities at our school that Lexington Elementary will become a multicultural educational facility.